Good evening, everyone. I will now call the October 8th, 2024 Bermuda Run Town Council meeting to order. As a reminder for everyone, please silence your phones. Thank you. I do want to recognize that we have a quorum, 4 members of the council present. Start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand if you can, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It is the intent of the Town Council to make solemn the proceedings of this meeting and the business brought before the governing board, to offer the opportunity for a reflective moment of silence. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Item number 4, the Town of Bermuda Run Code of Ethics Statement and Voting Procedures. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 160A 86 and 160D 109, and the Town of Bermuda Run Code of Ethics Policy adopted November 9th, 2010, and further endorsed on August 9th, 2022, I would ask each of you before you adopt the agenda if there's any actual potential or perceived conflicts of interest with respect to any matter on the proposed agenda which will come before the Town Council for a vote at this meeting tonight. If so, please speak up and let the Council know at this time before the agenda is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, on that. As to voting, as we've discussed in the past, 168-75 governs our voting procedure, which would require an affirmative vote equal to a majority of all the members of the Council. So in this case, we have 4, so for anything to pass, it would take 3. In the event of a tie, the Mayor would break the tie. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir.
Item number 5, adoption of the agenda. Council has had an opportunity to review the agenda. Are there any revisions, or do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ernst, second by Ms. Nelson. Show of hands approval. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Council. Excuse me. Item number 6, approval of the September 10, 2024 Town Council meeting minutes. Council's had the opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any revisions, or do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Schaefer, second by Tedder. Council, show of hands approval. Thank you. 4-0. Moving on to item number 7, citizens' comments. Do we have anyone signed up to speak tonight? Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 8, presentations. I've asked Jesse Folger from Davie County Habitat for Humanity to present an update to the town. I asked Jesse that when she comes forward, I'll remind our audience that the council is welcome to ask questions, but we will not take questions from the audience. That's our normal protocol. If you do have a question, you're certainly welcome to stay after and speak with Jesse or send a message to her separately. Thank you. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate being able to speak here to you all tonight. I am previously Jesse Elmore, for those of you who knew me before, and have gone through my name change after getting married last spring. So lots of changes, not only with me, but definitely with Habitat Davie and all that we've been able to do over the last few years since we spoke last. It's been nearly 2 years since we've been here. So I'm very excited to tell you all about what we've been up to, and also remind you of who we are and how we serve the community here in Davie County. While our mission and our vision has not changed, how and who we serve has even a little bit, even over the last 2 years, because of the economy, because of appraisal prices of homes and all that stuff. So we'll go ahead and get started. Just a real quick reminder of who we are, our mission statement: seeking to put God's love into action. Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, community, and hope. And we believe in a world where everyone deserves a decent place to call home. And so what do we actually do with that? In terms of building, we build a lot of things. The first thing, and probably what's up front and foremost in your minds, we build homes for the community. And I kind of broke this down into from 1994 when Habitat Davie first started up until we started this conversation with you all 2 years ago. And those numbers might look familiar to you, but over the last 2 years, we have started we closed on our first new construction project last August. So we put a family in a home, a single mom of 3 boys who has been doing wonderfully. She actually got another job, got a promotion there, and has also gone back to school. We even hired her oldest son part-time in our store. So if you ever get a donation pickup from our free donation services through our Restore, you may see him out on the trucks, which has been a very step up for that family, which we've been very excited to provide. We also have 1 home under construction currently. We started it back in July, which I'm excited to say. And with the way things are going, I'm thinking we'll be able to go ahead and start our next build in January, which means built 1 home since we last spoke, and then we're looking to build 2 in this fiscal year. Our fiscal years run July to June. So we're trying to pick up the pace. The biggest number I want to point out, though, is that we have served 13 families with our critical home repairs program as of this last year. So from June of 2023 up until now, that's 13 families where we go in and we do critical repairs on the home. Maybe that's a roof repair, maybe that's building them a ramp, maybe that's fixing holes in their floors. And that program has been very eye-opening to me. I know when we last spoke, we wanted to begin serving families in that way, but wasn't really sure how we were going to get the funding, how soon we'd be able to grow that program. But it's really taken force through grant funding, and I can explain more in a little bit about where we are able to get that funding from for the families. But really, it's been very eye-opening, and I'll just say that you don't know who you see walking down the street, who you're meeting in the grocery stores. The homes they're going back and living in. And these are folks 3 miles away from here, living out in just right down the road. And we'll get more to that. So by building homes, ultimately what we've been doing is building community out here. That's been my favorite part, really, is not only meeting the families that we've been able to serve and hearing their stories and making that connection, but also with all the volunteers that we've met along the way. We've kind of grown. I don't know if you've heard about the new Davie Auxiliary, the new women's group here in Davie County, but in partnering with them on certain events, we've been able to. Right now, we're a small team working in a nonprofit. It's never easy, but you have to have tentacles out in the community. And by having certain groups that come with us and help us do our fundraising, folks that we can call on to come out and regularly volunteer in our resource and help us to process furniture, all that keeps our costs down so that we can serve more families and put our resources and donations into serving families. And then, of course, being out on our build sites has been very awesome. We've kind of cultivated a group of regulars there, which I have about 3 or 4 of them now that come out regularly during the week, and we're trying to figure out the name. Do we call them the Hammerheads and make T-shirts and all that? You got to keep it fun, But those core volunteers really help us to propel our schedules forward, get our families moved into the home even sooner, and they help us to lead the large groups of volunteers that come out on our builds. So this is some pictures from our build last year. We started it in March of 2023, and she closed on it by August 17th. So pretty quick. We had about 200 volunteers that came out on the build. If you're going to hit the next slide. We have volunteers doing everything from doing the floor system to framing and standing the walls. And actually on the build that we're currently working on, we framed all of the window and door components in our back of our Restore, which is a nice little place to be able to do that without any rain or worrying about the elements outside. While our foundation was going in, we had volunteers through the Davie-Davidson Community College actually build those components in there that would once again help propel our schedule forward, because those are all the window and door components are pre-built. And then we just have to put them in and we lay out our wall plates too. So that's been neat to have our Restore space in the back there for that. And also a quick note about that was through an English as a second language program. And when I say we're building community, we really are. We're not just hammering and nailing out there. We're trying to build in ways to incorporate all different folks into our process and into our builds. And so while those English as a second language students were learning construction, learning math, they were helping to lay out the wall plates for us and get that build going. And they actually got to come out on the job site and work a few days as well. So that was a really neat program. This in particular was one of my favorite days on Jess's build last year. She brought all her church family and friends out to come out to the home, and we had a wall blessing ceremony. So all of her friends got to bring their little kids. It was a little stressful for me because we had a bunch of kids running around a construction site, but it was only for the first little bit. We weren't working, but they got to write beautiful, sweet messages on all the studs. Obviously, it's covered up by sheetrock, but those memories will last forever. And it was a great way to reach the youth and get them involved in our organization early on as well. And then just to highlight, whenever, obviously, we get a lot out of our volunteers coming out and helping on our builds, but they get a lot too. And you know, especially our businesses who are looking for team building days. We love to market that, right? Just to name a few, we had Davie Construction come out and volunteer, Davie Medical Center, Reeb, Energy United. They came out and sent 50 people over the course of 3 different days. Budget Blinds, a local Rotary Club came out, and so many others to really help on these builds. You can see they're finishing up the siding there. And then at the end of the build, we had a dedication where we had about 70 folks come out. And this was probably definitely one of the most important days as well, because we got to celebrate the family, and we got to invite back all the volunteers that helped out on the build. We had a little ceremony, little Bible presentation for the family, and then everyone got to tour the home and see the fruits of their labor, essentially. And then, of course, our product at the end. Anyone that worked on this home can drive over to Moxville in Ridgemont neighborhood and see this home. We have a few lots left over there, which we're working on now. But it was a really great day. Like I already mentioned a little bit about Jess's path to us, and she's kind of typical of a lot of our families in that we offered her that hand up, not a handout. A lot of our families that come to us, they can afford a mortgage. They're paying more than their mortgage right now in rent. It's just that they don't have that. Maybe they don't have that family member who can come in and put down that $30,000 down payment. Habitat kind of bridges that gap there. We help with the generational wealth that the folks don't have and stuff sometimes. So that's about our partner family. And of course, through all that, we're building hope for our families. And this is just a reminder of who we serve, because a little bit of this has changed even since we spoke last. Obviously, they still have to be first-time home buyers, live in Davie County for at least a year, have a need for housing. So if they are cost burdened, live in unsafe areas. Cost burden, by the way, I'm sure most of you know, but it is if you're paying more than 30% of your income towards housing, you're considered to be cost burdened. So we get them out of those situations. But a year ago or 2 years ago, we were telling you that we serve folks that make between 30 and 80% of the area median income. In this day and time, that's really not true. For a family of 4, 30% AMI is around $24,000. We can't put a family of 4 making $24,000 in a home that appraises for $220,000. We as a nonprofit would have to sell it for less than it costs to build. And I'm going to explain that in a second and then the next slide and show you some numbers to kind of just put it into perspective. But essentially I came up with, okay, our minimum income range right now is $35,000. And that's kind of what we have to sell our homes for minimum. And then of course we serve folks that make between 80% or less than 80% AMI. So this figure right here, y'all are numbers people, right? So if you've got any questions, let me know. I'll try to explain this as best I can. But I do think this is important because it shows you how our mortgages work, how we break it all down to work for the family. Well, I mean, it's a symbiotic relationship, right? We want to serve the families that need us, but at the same time, we have to be a sustainable organization that's going to be around to be able to serve more families. And this kind of, I think, explains to you kind of where we're at and how we make that all work and what we need to be able to get to the next level and actually be able to do and build more. So if we look at the top scenario, we're going to take a home that appraised for $220,000. That's what the last one appraised for. So we're going to set that as our appraisal price. This is what we plug in some numbers to determine if our families can qualify. So in this particular instance, we're going to take a household income of $38,000. Is what the family's making. Let's say they have a monthly debt of $250, right? Could be a car payment. It could be just something they're paying on their credit card. They're revolving each month. We're not talking about anything outside of revolving debt, like their cell phone bills or what they pay in food, just their revolving debt. And then we make sure as Habitat that they're not going to pay more than 30% of their income towards housing, and that their debt to income ratio, which would be their monthly debt, that $250, plus their mortgage payment, the $935, isn't going to be more than 43% of their income. So those numbers that we got set in stone. But then, and how do we make that all work is kind of through the breakdown of our mortgage. So as Habitat, we partner with the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency on any of our mortgages because we are a rural affiliate in the Habitat world. They will assume $50,000 of the mortgage. And the homeowner's not writing 3 or 4 different mortgages to folks. This is all broken down and separated out by a mortgage servicing company. But they would hold $50,000 at 0% interest for the family. That means that they're a third-party lender essentially, and so that means that we would get, the Habitat affiliate would get that $50,000 to be able to put into serving another family while the homeowner pays that back. Then we assume $10,000 of that particular mortgage because we have to do that to partner with NCHFA. We have to have our own skin in the game. So the homeowner, you can see their monthly payment there. 27 of that would go to us technically. And then we have a bank. First Bank is one that partners with a lot of habitats across North Carolina, and they would assume the rest. Now the rest doesn't equal up to $220 because the family can't afford that full payment. So we set aside that third, the one at the bottom, that third silent mortgage of $25,000. And that number is what it is because I had to make my ratios work out for this particular family. So all that is to say is we're not collecting on that $25,000, but that's what we're here for. You know, we're not trying to be greedy and say that, hey, we want to get all that we can out of this family because we want to make it work for them. But there is a limit to that. And so if you look down at the bottom, you can see how my numbers work out. If we're getting $185,000 for a home, it costs me $160,000 to build the home. Over the course of roughly 5 to 6 months, we're making about $25,000 on that home, which is great, but it's not enough once again if I need to buy land, if I need to build 2 and 3 homes at a time, not just one at a time. We have to have the whole community involved. We have to figure out, okay, how are we going to bring our construction costs down so we can make more money on the sale of this home so we can provide for more families. So I hope this was clear enough, clear as mud maybe, but I think it's a really important snapshot to kind of see the wholesome of how our whole program really works, from our families kind of coming into the program to what we can make on the sale of the home to how it goes back into feeding and serving other families. And then the second part of what we do, and I mentioned this earlier, but this has really been the most eye-opening part for me when I was working at Habitat Wake. Been in the world for 11 years. I was down there for 9 of that. I stuck to new construction. It's clean, it's easy, it's fun. You got volunteers, you build homes. It was clean and easy. Critical home repairs, you never know what you're getting into, and sometimes you can only do so much with the project you're kind of given. But this has honestly been my favorite program so far, besides like working with all the folks and meeting all the people in the community and the families. Like, this has been a very, like I said, eye-opening program. There's no other way to explain it, and I really want to try and propel this one forward as much as we can. And I just want to show you, the pictures say it all, really. The very first home that we did was I think it was built in like 1938. It was a really old farm home, Miss Brenda's home, and her roof was leaking. She had called because of that. She had a leak in her bathroom floor, and she was having to carry a lamp into her bathroom to see. You can do the next one, but I have my pictures. I've tried to get better on. This is the very first one, but I mean, you just imagine like there's this piece of wood that's covering up a hole right where your toilet is, and once again having to carry a lamp in your bathroom because you don't know who to call, you have no extra money to get a light switch fixed. And we came in and did this project, put down the new flooring, a new ADA-sized toilet, and also fixed the light. It was pretty nominal fee for us, really. We didn't have to use a whole lot of our grant funding for this particular program, but it made a world of difference in her life to be able to have a usable bathroom and she didn't have to worry about all those aspects. Next project, once again, a pretty simple fix for not that much cost in lumber. But once again, if you don't know who to call, you don't have trusted contacts, you have literally no extra money in your bank account to put $600 up in lumber, what do you do? And so we came in with this project, and we got to build these actually in our restore. And we had volunteers come in, build the stairs in the back there. We brought them out to the job site, installed them. This was a day project. And once again, made it safe for them to access their home and livable. And the partner family even came out and volunteered on that build as well. So we incorporated them with the sweat equity. This one, met Miss Cindy right before Christmas. This was where her refrigerator was sitting. Monica and I actually pried this fridge up out of, it was sitting on the joist of her trailer essentially. We mucked everything out, got it reframed up, put the board back down, insulated, all that good stuff. But the real reason that we were called to her home is because she had fallen through her bathroom floor. And yeah, and so we had to come in and we fixed all of that. But picture I did not take, unfortunately, is to the right of the screen would have been her hall closet. And the reason this had rotted out was because her water heater was from the 90s and had busted and leaked, and she didn't know it. She just kind of like shut off this whole area of her home and out of sight, out of mind for a little bit, but it had leaked, black mold all in her closet. We came in, we actually have partnered with other vendors or contractors in the area to help out with like mold remediation, because we don't get into that licensed work. But they came in, remediated the closet. We can go to the next one. We framed it all back up. Lowe's donated some flooring for that particular project. I will say the rest of this home is plywood floors everywhere. So we were able to fix this aspect, but we were trying to spread out some grant funding, didn't quite have enough to go around the whole home, but there's still a need in this home. We did what we could to make it safe and livable, but there's still so much need there. This one, you can see this was in their kitchen, and to be honest, I don't know how long they were living with that. They had a roof leak. The wall was bowed out at this point when we came into the picture. We were able to come in and do that repair there and obviously make a good difference. This particular lady lived with her sister, and also they had no running water. And we didn't do this piece of it. We actually partnered with, Tom Blaze over at Blaze Baptist Church. It's where we get a lot of our referrals from. Him and his pastor came in and ran plumbing all over around the house. And they just had no running water in their home in this day and age in Davie County. It's very eye-opening. But then if you go to the next one, this is what they currently live with. And so now, some of these projects that I just showed you was funding that we had through the Davie Community Foundation that we got started on. Now what I've learned, and spread the word about this, tell them to come to me if you need to, or they can do it on their own, but Energy United, if you live within a county that has Energy United, you don't have to live on it, you can have Duke Power, but as long as you're in the county, which Davie is a county that it has Energy United here, services, any homeowner family can apply for up to $10,000 for their critical repair program. And then they just have to send in all their financial information, and they have to collect 2 quotes for whatever. Is it a roof repair? Is it holes in their floor? Whatever they may have. And so what I have found is that that's great information to give someone, but when you're talking to a 75-plus-year-old woman who lives alone, they might not have internet. They might not, understand how to do these sorts of things. And so we come in and kind of bridge that gap once again to help them apply. We have volunteers that will sit with them and help them apply for this funding. We'll use trusted contractors to be in their home, who we go out with. We do the assessments. We really hold their hand along the way and help them apply. We've been able to do, I think, sad to look at the numbers, 7 or 8 projects through that funding there. And then this is just another one. So those 2 are currently in our pipeline, that one and then this one. It's hard to see from the photos, but if you really look at the top of the ceiling, it's separated from the wall a good, probably 1.5 to 2 inches. Same thing with the baseboard going to the floor, and that's because the floor just dipped down like this at an angle, and that's because of the windows on the outside have no flashing and no anything left. So that is one we just got funding for that we'll be working on. I think Sean's going over there next week to start that one. And that's for Mr. Green, who is actually blind, and he gets around his whole property very well. It's very impressive, but he just didn't understand probably how the extent of where he was living in. His daughter called us to help with that one. So that's a critical repair program. I'm happy to I'm very passionate about that one. If you have questions, let me know. But just to wrap it up, I think all of you know our resource. I didn't concentrate too much on this during the presentation, but we're very excited to have that place. We opened it July of last year. It's been going very well. We do free donation pickups, and we are just very blessed. So thank you for all who have ever given to the Restore. We're very excited to be and have that kind of staple here in the community to also hold our offices in. But you can, kind of see the relationship there, right? We get our donations, we have volunteers that help to process stuff, we have our wonderful shoppers, and all that feeds into money that is generated to help us to build homes in the community. And then the last one, how can you help? Volunteer. We need time and talent. You can be a group of our regulars out on the build site. You can help me with organizing paperwork. And if there's like admin duties, if we have folks that are retired that are interested in helping out in, you can volunteer in the Restore. We have our Restore volunteers who come in and they, like I said, they process furniture, they help keep the store clean, they get stuff out, help us price things out on the floor, helping with events, fundraising events. There's so many different ways to be involved. Donate, build sponsorship, legacy giving, there's all different ways to donate to us, both monetarily, but then also that time piece and to the Restore. And then advocate, that's a really big one, spread the word about us. There is a huge need for affordable housing. It's one of the top topics, and I didn't have to say it because everybody knows it's on the top of everyone's mind. But we're only going to be around so long as we get the support of the community. And we really appreciate your time today and for letting us be here. I think I'll just end it with the last picture. So on the left, we have Casey, our latest homeowner. She has a 10-year-old son who she has not told she's building a house for. And we're hoping to have her in by Christmas, so come out and volunteer with us. She's very excited. She's a local manager here in Davie County. And we have a regular group of volunteers over here on the right. This is a really cool picture of them. You want to be cool like them, don't you? Come on out. And yeah, come see us and be involved. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Any questions for Jesse?
For me, just thank you for what you're doing. I mean, it's an invaluable community service, and, we all need to participate. So, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Jesse. This is absolutely great. So I had just a little bit more question about the business model at a high level. So
Yeah.
early on, you mentioned grants, and you mentioned the Davie County Foundation, which I meant would be one source. You mentioned donations. So for example, if we're donating, is that a significant way that we can, the donations go in and then they're sold and that money goes towards the house? Or is it more about the grants or?
You're talking about like where's our funding model?
Yeah.
So when what we're trying to build here in Davie County, like I've seen work really well when I came from like Habitat Wake and the Forsyths, you have businesses and even individuals and whoever that are house sponsors. And that's what we really got to get, I think, involved in is saying, okay, as a business or whoever, we're going to come in and we're going to give you $20,000 towards the cost of this house.
Okay.
Because right now we're using a construction loan. And typically, once again, this is in a different area, right, in a big city like Raleigh, but they would have the Lenovos and the Ciscos and these giant companies down there who would give $150,000, right? And that would cover the cost of the build. And then when you sell the home, you're making a big chunk that you can immediately put into building more homes. Rural affiliates operate a little differently, and that's what I'm here to find out. Because I was heavy in construction back there, and so we do it in part by fundraisers, right? That's very important for us. I know we have a couple coming up later this year. That we're going to be involved in, but we also have like All About Care HVAC. They donate $1,500 a month to us. Our window guy with Window Depot of the Triad, he cuts us a quarterly check. For every window he sells, he gives Habitat $10. So it's multiple entities coming together, and we have to figure out what works best for this area. Is it individual giving? Is it those fundraisers are going to be a main source of income for us? Is it going to be small businesses coming together or larger businesses, whoever, churches, right, coming together? It's kind of, we have to find our niche, right? And I've met a lot of wonderful people, and I've noticed that all the nonprofits work really well together, and we're all kind of great friends, but we're also kind of going after the same pot there, right? So what's going to work best for Davie? We've got to figure it out, kind of. That's, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah.
But when a family comes into a home and perhaps they have circumstances that enable them to move to another home, do you have data on the longevity or number of years your residents stay within those first homes?
That is something that I definitely can look up and get back to you on. I don't currently have it for Habitat Davie particularly, but I do know when it comes to, this is more on the negative side, but like foreclosure rates, for instance, because of how stringently we do vet our homeowners, overall, Habitat is in like the high 90s with not foreclosure. Like we're one of the top builders because of the homeowners do 250 hours of sweat equity, right? They work really hard to pay for their homes, and a lot of times we are the only entity that is able to provide them with a mortgage. A bank wouldn't be able to take them on. So I think that they're, just off the top of my head, I would say there is our homeowners stay in homes longer than maybe some others, but we do write into our mortgage agreement that we get right of first refusal if the family were to move on for a positive reason. We get a chance to buy that house back and recycle it for another family.
That's what I.
But yeah, that's
curious
interesting.
about.
I'll definitely have to like look something like that up for sure.
Yeah, but that's good that you have right of first refusal.
Yeah. And with the money that we put into it that we don't collect on that $25,000 I was mentioning, that gets put in like a promissory note. So if they sell it between years 0 to 5, we get that money back from 6 to the 30 year, the length of their mortgage, that goes down incrementally, and it's kind of a gift to the homeowner.
Question, Jesse. From how you define success, how many homes would you like to see being built in Davie County 5 years from now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that it has
More than two?
more than two. Yeah, I think definitely. I think that I want us to grow sustainably. In my past experience, when I was at Wake, even I saw us go from 35 homes up to 83 homes a year, back down to 36 a couple years later. And so I don't want big ebbs and flows like that. I would love for us to sustainably say, hey, we're going to do 2 homes for the next 2 years, and then we're going to do 4, and then have goals that are going to be attainable, that are also going to challenge us and also be sustainable in the long run. So I think my overall goal would just to be continued growth at a sustainable rate, as opposed to trying to build 10 homes every year and then not know how we're going to get there because the economy is doing one thing or whatever. We were talking to, actually I got a call from the town of Moxville where we have some potential property from them that they want to give to us, which is wonderful because, at one point we only have 3 lots left. If we build ourselves out of these lots and that $25,000 is going to building in the next home, where am I getting cash to actually buy more property in the meantime? And then I'm having to stop building for a couple years, lose that momentum. So there's a lot of things to think about there, but I think just sustainable growth, I'd love to, 5 years from now, if we did 2, 4, maybe we're doing 4 to 6 homes a year, that would be, I think, great.
Well, I can assure you that with your energy level, that will happen because you have got a very high energy level.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My husband doesn't always like it.
You'll get used to it.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Jesse, thank you so much for what you do. It was
Yeah.
great to bring you back. I know we were here,
Yeah.
several of us were here a year and a half or so ago when Restore just opened, and so it's great to see the success and the journey that you're on, and hopefully the video and this information will get out, and you'll be inundated with people with
Yeah.
checkbooks and cash and hammers in hand. So
I
thank you very
appreciate it.
much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
You.
All right, I'm going to call an audible in our program. I noticed that we have Sheriff Hartman here, and he is a rare find for us to have him be able to be here tonight. So I'm going to ask him if he could step forward and just share some information that you have in terms of any updates pertinent to the town.
Yes, sir. I'm always happy to be here, especially tonight. Andrew and the mayor, we've worked together on a project to enhance our ability to serve the town. So the town's going to help us with a little bit of additional funding for our contracts, and that will buy some equipment that will help us be able to investigate cases a little better. It's equipment that will help us move faster to respond to, for example, Kenderton had the car break-ins just recently. It would have enhanced our ability to respond to that. Those should be in place before the end of the year, those pieces of equipment. We have 10 of those around the county outside the city, but we're going to add 5 inside the city limits here in Bermuda Run. Just for an example of what it's done in the county, just in 2024, it's assisted us to recover 14 stolen vehicles, 11 stolen license plates, locate 3 missing persons, and recover 3 stolen firearms, in addition to locating multiple wanted people, solving several larceny cases. So that equipment, it will be instrumental in helping us. And I just want to say thank you for partnering with us on it.
Thank you for that, and we look forward to that. Obviously, our friends in Kenderton would have probably liked to have that 45 days ago, but
sure.
It's a great partnership that we have with your office and with you, and look forward to that. I think I understand timeline. It's probably going to happen this month.
Yes, sir.
But those in the audience, in case you're wondering, it seems like the language here is a little covert, and that's by design. The goal is not to give specificity other than what Sheriff has shared in terms of the equipment and what the goals are for that. So
Yes.
the covert nature of that description is by design. So no, you can't ask us, and no, we won't answer. But understand that what the sheriff is describing is something that will better things for this town. Great numbers to know the county has 10 and the town is investing in 5.
Yes.
I think that says a lot in terms of our desire to stay to our mission, which is to be a safe community.
Yes, sir.
As well. So,
And I would just like to say, if you ever need us, just call.
thank you.
Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Sheriff, thank you very much for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now revert back to our regularly scheduled programming. Moving on to item number 9, proposed action items. 9A, Bermuda Run Vision Committee Council Member Appointment. Mr. Meadwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you're aware, with Melinda Lisline left a position of representing from council to the Bermuda Run Vision Committee. Ms. Schaefer was previously in that role, and I would ask that the board would consider appointing Christie back to that same position as representing town council to that vision committee.
So moved.
And just to add a little context to that, this is an important role. Not only is the committee important, but this role serves really as that sort of liaison with that committee, attending those meetings, bringing back from that committee updates to the council. So it's a great way to share information between the committee and the council on ongoing activities and updates. As Andrew pointed out, anyone who knows the name Christie Schaefer and knows her involvement in all things and anything related to the town can echo that it's a ideal opportunity, I think, for this appointment. So I'm a bit biased and I can't vote, but I'm just saying. So
I can second.
I did not make the motion.
There, he did.
I did.
Okay. Mike Ernst made the motion. Mr. Tedder made the second. Show of hands approval. 4-0. Thank you, council. Pardon me. Item 9B, the always positive, uplifting annual leaf removal, town streets contract. Mr. Meadwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the board knows, we put these services out for bid. We did receive 4 responsive bidders for that. The prices were, as you can imagine, all over the place. But in staff's recommendation and opinion, it's not always the lowest bidder who always receives the contract. When we look at state statute, it's always the lowest responsible bidder. And in staff's opinion, looking at the bids and our interviews and looking at what's provided, we feel that Blakely Landscaping is the most responsible bidder. And what I'm asking council to do is approve the ability for myself and our town attorney to continue to negotiate and to execute that contract. Now, I will say, if for some reason this contract can't be negotiated and executed, we have no choice but to go to the next person in line. So, and able to justify the reasoning why we went down to that person. And it may even include, a modification of some of the requirements that we may have for them to do that. But that has to be looked at equally among all of those. So with that, we really need this authority just to be able to go and start a negotiation with said contractor. And that's what I'm asking council to do tonight.
And just for clarification, the council approves through the adoption of the budget.
Yep.
The funding for this. This is really simply allowing the town manager and the attorney to execute the contract that's already funded under the current budget. That's right. That's right. Any questions for Mr. Meadwell?
Nope.
We have a motion?
Motion?
A second.
Motion by Nelson, second by Schaefer. Show of hands of approval. Motion approves 4-0. Thank you, council.
Get those leaves up.
Agenda item number 10, Town Manager Report and Comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I continue my certification in leafology, it's looking at the weather, just trying to predict. We're really thinking that our leaf pickup will probably begin sometime November 1st. That's a Friday, but more likely probably on the 4th to start that process. Just really looking at temperatures and how the leaves will start to be forecasted to change colors. So we're really looking at that. If you recall last year, I think we picked our first load of leaves up probably in the middle of October and extended all the way into the middle of January. So we're really anticipating a possible shorter leaf season just because all the leaves maybe will fall all at the same time. So, but we're anticipating starting that November 1st, but we'll have a little bit more better feel for that over the next week and a half or so. And as always, we'll always send that information out when we start that. So the other thing is I talked with the planning board chairman and we have no new business or items that have been submitted for review. So the planning board will not have their meeting this month. Likewise, in discussions with the mayor and in an email to each of you, our scheduled meeting for October 22nd, which is our agenda meeting. I think that I've got consensus from most of you that it's really not necessary for us to have that meeting. That there's really no pressing issues that need to be addressed that couldn't wait till our regularly scheduled. So if I'm saying nod, so I'm taking that's okay, and we'll get that out as well. That we'll cancel that meeting and have that posted. As many of you have seen, I hope you have seen, the flagpoles are up at the Flag Plaza. I believe the pavers will be going down soon. I had an interesting question from the contractor. He asked me at what side the little tie lanyard on the flagpole should be, and he said he had done research, and I said, well, that's enough for me. So I'll go with that. I would like to bring council, let you know, our phase 2 of the Kenderton sidewalk project is completed. Phase 2. So, we originally anticipated we were probably get through a phase 1. So I'm glad to say that we've got phase 2 done. So I know the contractor was going back on Friday to get his form boards up and throw some straw and some seating down. So, I hope, I haven't heard anything from our residents there in Kenderton, but I'm really pleased that we were able to accomplish at least 2 phases on some directed projects that the residents there or the homeowner association wanted to be addressed. So really pleased with that. And as always, we discussed this at in our budget sessions that, this was going to be a reoccurring kind of project. So we'll start to look at this again in February or March and really discuss how much we're going to put back toward that project again. So for the 25-26 budget year. So the paving project is moving along. So I'm pleased with that. The weather is kind of holding out. I know they're in West now, doing some of the milling of the streets there, so they'll probably be there for another week and a half or so. And once they do that, then they'll come over into Kenderton commercial area here and finish up these streets here. So haven't heard many issues related to that. I think the contractor has done work here before and is familiar with what we expect from a town and providing that service. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And I think that's really all I have, sir. So if council has any questions for me, I'll be more than glad to answer those.
I got one, because I told
Yes, sir.
residents I would bring it up,
Yes, sir.
since we're not meeting on the 22nd. It was brought to my attention by a couple residents, the North Carolina flag that we have up at our post office is sort of torn and faded, and they were saying we need a new one.
Yeah. And I've talked to Stacy about having that replaced.
Oh, and by that, where the American flag is, the
Okay.
US flag,
Yep,
you know what that one looks like?
right.
Okay. That one, the tree above it is growing the limbs to where it's working on that flag. So Stacy, as he's doing the other one,
Right.
he
He's
needs to
supposed to look at
trim,
it.
he needs to
Yep.
trim that tree back a little bit. Okay, so I go back and tell him that message delivered.
So Councilmember Ernst is an advocate of removing trees, is that what I wanted to make sure I got that noted
No,
correctly?
no, advocate of, no,
just
I'm
wanted
an
to make-
advocate
second.
of removing limbs,
That was-
branches.
That was too easy. That was too easy.
Yeah.
That was a softball pitch right
I
there.
believe we have enough
Yeah.
trees taken down in
No.
the state.
Thank you for your update. Yeah, just to go back to the cancellation of our agenda meeting, what drove that really are two factors. One, as Andrew pointed out, we really just, our agenda meetings sometimes are pretty robust. I call it the sausage making, where there's a lot of work that happens in those meetings. And sometimes they're rather light. I do expect that we're going to have a copious amount of things to be covering in the upcoming months. But it was a combination of that, and starting next Thursday, Town Hall will begin to be the voting site for early voting. And so our decision was, in order for us to hold a agenda meeting, we would have had to relocate to Winmock or something like that. And the logic was, if we don't have a lot to cover, why go through the effort of relocating to another venue for a meeting that we could just simply cancel? So that was really the factor that drove that. Any of you that see our town information posted by Cindy or on our door, do a lot of work trying to communicate what those early voting dates are, the times, et cetera. So that will begin next Thursday here in Town Hall, just to more context around that. Okay, moving on to mayor comments. So bear with me, I have several things I want to cover off on here. Again, thank you, Jesse, for your update. Sheriff Hardman's left, to thank him always for what he and his organization do. See, we have some representatives from our fire department. So again, always want to do a shout out there and thank you for all that you do for all of us. Thank you, obviously, everyone who attended tonight. No surprise, right? You can't turn on the television, the radio, or what have you, and not hear about Western Carolina and all the challenges that are happening there. I just want to thank several of our local businesses, and I don't mean to exclude anyone, but I was just kind of off the cuff going through the list of names that I remembered seeing on our town website, recognizing what they did. Hillsdale Real Estate Group, Meg Brown Home Furnishings, Maddie Cake Bakery, Habitat for Humanity, Davie Medical Physicians Group, and others. They were one of the first ones that I heard step up and say, let's use our location as a gathering point for supplies and products and coordinating that delivery. That speaks volumes to those businesses, and I just want to thank them for that. I also want to thank not only the businesses, but many of you in this room. I witnessed on Facebook and other social media posts, people from this town, from Oak Valley and other locations, just jumping in immediately and saying, hey, come to my house and drop it off, we'll get it delivered. That speaks volumes to the kind of people that live in our communities. And I just want to recognize and acknowledge that. Thank you for our fire and rescue and our law enforcement, who also, many of those wound up relocating out to Western Carolina to help support activities there. So each of you, thank you for what you did. Thank you for what you're going to do. And whether the donations are large or small, anything you can do, please help. I know that if the roles were reversed and we had a disaster here, rest assured we would be surrounded by people helping us. And it's just, again, speaks volumes to the character of this town and the people of this town. So thank you for that. Also, I want to note, and it was in my mayor message, but I just want to again note it, that Jerry West, a former member of our town council who served on the town council for 2 terms, pardon me, passed away a couple of weeks ago. Had the honor of being able to attend his memorial service, and I would tell you, it was warming to know that you had a complete, full funeral service of people recognizing that gentleman and his family, and so just keep that family in your thoughts. Also, a name that most of us recognize, Catherine Crosby, passed away a couple of weeks ago. Anyone who's been around Bermuda Run and knows the history of Bermuda Run cannot see the name Crosby and not recognize the importance of what it did long before this town became a town, and the legacy continues to live on through Crosby Scholars. Gentleman to my left, a huge part of that. So just again, two very noteworthy individuals who we lost, and again, keep their families in your thoughts. On the 25th anniversary, we had the same weather that the mountains have, but just not as bad. We wound up having to reschedule our 25th anniversary Food Truck Friday event. So that now is scheduled for Friday, October the 18th from 5 to 8 p.m. So I'm going to pivot quickly over to Ms. Christie, and she can do another quick run through of highlights of the things that are happening that evening, just to kind of recap that.
Okay, so there'll be our local band, Pushin' Georgia. They are residents of Kinderton, and they've always supported Food Truck Friday. There'll be a number of variety of food trucks this time, a little something for everyone, some sweets and some treats that will be provided to the first, I think, 250 to 500 guests. 250 on the ices. Jason's is doing icy treats for the kids. For the children, there will also be a balloon artist magician, games and face painting. And Maddie Cakes will be baking the cakes for anniversary cakes, and everyone will be treated to one of her delicious confections. And it will be a night of a lot of fun. Bring your lawn chair, your picnic basket, your blanket, and plan to spend the evening there. I should mention that if you're going to bring children or grandchildren to the field, there will be, because the lights, our daylight is fading quickly, we will have lights set up so that the field for the games the kids can play games well into the evening. So 5 to 8 p.m., come on out, it'll be so much fun.
Thank you. So a week from this Friday.
18th.
We had a great concert on the 28th with North Tower. Wonderful to not be out in 93-degree temperatures in a concert. Some of us glow and some of us sweat. How can I say it better? Thank you again to Jason Dillard and his team from Lowe's Food. They donated some snacks, and they were consumed, and lots of smiling faces. So thank you again to Jason's Food. That was a wonderful partnership, and look forward to them partnering in other events. We have 2 concerts on our town green coming up. If you recall, both of these concerts were rescheduled from earlier in the summer due to weather. So we have one concert with the Special Occasion Band this Saturday, October the 12th. Concert time is 6 p.m., not 7 p.m. So both of our concerts have moved up by 1 hour. The second concert will be Envision. So you should come early if you're going to come to the Envision, because that is one popular band. Great music. Everyone loves it. Hopefully we have a wonderful, cool evening. That, again, on October the 26th on Saturday, again, starting at 6 p.m. The Bermuda Run Garden Club is sponsoring their shredding event. That is on Saturday, October 19th. For those of you that are writing these things down, trust me, all this information is on our town website. It's included in my mailer that comes out at the beginning of the month. But again, come out for a great cause from 9 o'clock until noon, or until the truck fills up. And many years the truck fills up because it's a very popular event. Bring your confidential papers for shredding. It'll be located right out here in our parking lot. So it can't be much more convenient.
Actually, it's going to be over at Davy Dermatology due to early voting.
So it'll be, due to early voting, it'll actually be over by Davy Dermatology. So thank you for that pivot. Appreciate that. Welcome to Tanglewood Chiropractic. Was honored to be able to participate in a ribbon cutting. They're located right next to Tanglewood Pizza. So if you have a part that doesn't work quite right and a chiropractor's for you, let me encourage you to go to Tanglewood Chiropractic, a new member of our community and a member of the Davie Chamber. Pedestrian pathway at Bermuda Run East continues to progress in terms of the design. Nothing to announce tonight, but Mr. Meadwell and I will be working on coordinating some information sharing sessions that will allow folks that are impacted by this, living behind the gates, or those interested in walking, ultimately, the pedestrian pathway, look for some meetings that will share information on the path and some high-level timelines, et cetera, on that project. For next month's town council meeting, I've invited Ms. Julia Barazzer, Davie Respect Initiative. So many of you, I'm sure, have heard of that. But ask her to come present, much like Jesse did tonight, come and share information on Davie Respect. Awesome initiative, so look forward to that next month. We've reached out to the tax office and tentatively are planning to have them present in our December town council meeting to share information on the, what I expect to be in the next 30 days or so, the approval of the new schedule of table schedule of what ultimately they use in terms of applying their tax rates. If you recall, this is the year of revaluation, so I want to bring them in and have them give an update. With all of that, let me turn it to the council and see if there's any additional comments. None for me.
What's that said?
We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second.
Second.
Mr. Tedder, second by Mr. Ernst. Show of hands. Thank you, council. Thank you, folks. We are adjourned.